Okay, hello. So I am live on Facebook and on Instagram. Hello, people. I decided to come on live last minute because something's been running around in my head. I won't go as far as saying that it's been weighing on my heart, but I will say it's been running around in my head. And I thought, what the hell? Let me just go ahead and have this conversation. Even though I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for it. I've got two screens going here, so if I'm not looking at you, that's because I've got both Instagram and Facebook going at the same time, so I'm looking at two different cameras. So let me just go ahead and say what I came here to say. I'm gonna get a lot of shit for, probably not gonna make a lot of friends for, but here's what I've got to say today. And it's that it is okay to not want to be fat. It is. It's just, I think that needs to be said. Let me go ahead and say now, because I don't want to, spend my entire message in an apology mode, because I'm not apologetic for this, but I know that a lot of people have a hard time hearing this kind of language, and I might be using incendiary language, but it's done with a purpose, right? And this is not about judging or shaming anybody. This is not, telling people who are obese or in bigger bodies that they can't love their bodies, or that they shouldn't love their bodies, or that no one else should love their bodies, that there's anything wrong with their bodies. This is not a message for anyone who's in a bigger body and wants to stay there. This is a message for women who are in bigger, well, I guess you don't even have to be in a bigger body. This is a message for women who don't want, thank you. This is a message for women who don't want to be in bigger bodies. This is a message for women who just don't want to be fat. I'm here to say that that is okay, right? And that's really taboo to say these days, because if you say the word fat in any capacity, the big body police is going to come after you and start calling you fat phobic. And it's a thing these days that's just not accepted. And I just don't know how I feel about that, and I had to actually go back and look up, what does phobia mean? What does it mean to have a phobia? And a phobia means let me see if I can find it here. A phobia means that you have an irrational, uncontrollable, or persistent fear of something. And common phobias include spiders, flying, elevators, heights, crowded places, etc., right? And so, in the context of that definition, I had to sit back and think about this. And I think I might actually have a fat phobia. I do, right? And that's hard. That's hard to say in 2023. It's hard to say. And it's interesting because we don't shame other people who have phobias, right? Like if you've got arachnophobia, or if you're afraid of flying or something like that, we don't deny people that. We don't force them to be ashamed of their phobia. Their fear, whether it's irrational or not, it could be rooted in some sort of deep-seated trauma that we may or may not understand. It could be a big trauma or a little trauma, but who are we to judge anyone's phobias or fears? And I think the same should be said of having a fat phobia. It could be irrational, it could be absolutely nonsensical, but it also could be rooted in some sort of trauma, big or small. And when I think about how this applies to me, I have a fat phobia because I've watched people in my family struggle with being obese. I've watched their lack of mobility. I've watched the health complications. I've watched a lack of freedom. And I don't know if you want to call that traumatic or not, but it's been enough to make me have a fear of not wanting to be fat. When I was in HR, I used to see people struggle with being able to afford prescriptions. We'd have to renew benefits for the company every year, and people would call me like, oh, who are we changing benefits to? Because I've got this prescription for diabetes, this prescription for hypertension. But I'd watch people struggle, have to arrange their life, their quality of life, arrange their finances around being able to afford medication associated with them being obese. And so, yeah, that kind of traumatized me. I don't want to be fat because that's not something I want to have to deal with. Does that make me a bad person? And that's a rhetorical question. I know it doesn't make me a bad person, but the messaging these days almost makes you believe that you are if you have a phobia or a resistance or a fear of being fat. And it's interesting because we don't see older people on this train. We don't see older people who are in bigger bodies, who are obese on this "you can't be fat phobic" train, because they're living with the actual consequences of this right now. This seems to be more of a younger person's, kind of bear to cross. This seems to be a younger person's, what's the word I'm looking for? Cause. Because I think when you're younger, you just want to be accepted. But when you're older and you've been in a bigger body for the majority or all of your life, you're like, fuck being accepted. I just want to be smaller. I want freedom of movement. I want the freedom of my body. I don't want to have these health concerns. I want to be in a smaller body. And I want to be in better health, period. And so, this really comes up though, because as I talk to current and future clients, I've got women who almost are ashamed, almost afraid of saying that they don't want to be fat. Like when they come to me and they're talking about their goals, they almost can't say those words, right? Like there's a fear. And I'm somebody who can preach all day long. I can literally preach all day long about the mental and the emotional health benefits of exercising and working out. If you followed me for any duration of time, you know that I credit, getting in shape, my health, my fitness with saving me from depression, saving my life from depression, from alcoholism, from, it's accelerated my career. It's helped calm my anxiety. It's helped me feel more confident. Exercising helped me find God or my spirit again. Like there's a million things I can talk about in terms of why you want to get healthy and fit that have nothing to do with weight. And as a coach, as a trainer, I make sure my clients have non-scale goals. There are things that I make sure we're working for and towards other than the number on the scale. Things like having increased energy, getting off medications, feeling more confident, having better mental health. And so, those are all things that I believe in, I preach in. If you go through my IG, if you go through my Facebook, all of my social media, you'll see tons of video and content about all of the benefits of exercise and diet that have nothing to do with how you look and have nothing to do with losing weight. But with all of that being said, with all of those worthwhile goals that there are out there, you know why my clients ultimately, the secret thing, why they come to me and why a lot of women are on this journey? It's to lose weight. It is. It's to lose weight. It's to not be fat, however they define it. This is not me coming to them as a coach or a trainer saying, oh, according to what I see here, you need to lose 10 or 15 pounds. That never happens. It's according to how they see it. But it's hard for a lot of women to admit that because there's a lot of shaming for that these days. And just because you don't want to be fat doesn't mean that you want to have an unhealthy eating disorder, kind of like heroin chic, thin type body. I can't tell you what it means to people when they say that they don't want to be fat, when they say that they want to be smaller, because it means different things to different people. And that's okay. That's a good thing. It's just a matter of allowing them to have that desire and not demonize it, right? I'm seeing and I'm talking to women who want it all. There's women who want it all. And that's okay. Women who have fulfilling, joyful, abundant lives, women who have great careers, they've got great relationships, they've got great friends and family, they've got a lot of great things going for them. But they're receiving the messaging that because they've got all of that going on, if they want to be in a smaller body, that somehow that's toxic. That somehow that's not okay, that they just should be happy with their size. And there's some women who are, but there's also women who aren't. And those are the women that I'm talking to. For those who are made to feel like dieting and exercising just to lose weight, for just that one sole purpose alone, that is somehow wrong. That somehow makes you fat phobic. And because I don't hear a lot of people out there giving women permission to have that desire, right? Like you're allowed to have the desire to be in a bigger body and stay in a bigger body. No one's gonna, say anything about that. But if you have a desire to stay in a smaller body or get into a smaller body, that's demonized. And because I don't hear a lot of people out there with this messaging giving women permission to diet and exercise to lose weight, I'm here to say you've got permission to diet and exercise, to lose weight, and to not feel bad about it. There's nothing wrong with your desire to want to be in a smaller body for whatever your reasons are, and however small or medium size or whatever, that looks like for you. Just to that have the desire to just want to be smaller is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, and no one should shame you for that. So that's it. Thank you guys for listening if you made it to the end. And yeah, have a good one. Happy New Year.